Stop it, Frieza! Goku!
Hello and welcome to Jesse Dark Gaming. Today I'll be reviewing Dragon Ball Xenoverse on the PlayStation 4. Now, I've been a huge fan of Dragon Ball for many years, and I've played my fair share of Dragon Ball fighting games. However, I really only own one. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 on the Wii. And the reason is because I feel like Dragon Ball games are almost like sports games. It's the exact same plot. Maybe you'll have some variation in gameplay, maybe some different characters, but it's the same game being released over and over again, I feel. And with the show and the manga being out for so long, I figured there'd be no one that would be able to refresh the series. However, I will say that I was pleasantly surprised because developer Dimps have done just that with Dragon Ball Xenoverse.
Xenoverse's story begins with a problem in the timeline. Someone is altering the very fabric of time, changing the outcomes of the many battles in the Dragon Ball universe. Trunks is a member of the Time Patrol Warriors, a fighting force who work to ensure that the timeline proceeds as it should. However, this new threat is so dangerous that Trunks decides to collect the Dragon Balls to wish for a powerful warrior to aid him in battle. Enter your own custom character. After being summoned, you will battle across different time periods, correcting the various irregularities. Imagine Gohan had not damaged Raditz, and thus Goku was not able to hold him and the special beam cannon never connected. Imagine if the androids killed future Trunks before he went back in time and warned the Z Warriors. Now, this is the best part of the story mode. They're not just one-off what-if scenarios, but a cumulative story that works towards unraveling the mystery of who is disrupting the timeline. The name of the game in Xenoverse is Customization. There are 5 races to choose from, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Once you have customized and tailored your character, you're all set to take part in story mode, side missions, online or offline battles, or simply wander around the main city hub of Toki Toki Town and speak with non-playable characters or fellow online players. Now, there is a ton of content in this game, in the way of items, equipment, and abilities. You can earn many of them by taking part in side missions. Unfortunately, you will often be at the mercy of the random number generated loot system. Now, if there's a particular piece of armor or there's a particular ability you want, it's really up to chance, but never fear because there is a good assortment of items and abilities that you can purchase from the in-game shops with currency that you earn through missions. Now, another really cool feature in this game is the Master System. As you progress through the game, you will meet famous Dragon Ball characters who you can train under. They will give you tasks to complete, and by completing these tasks, in turn, they will teach you their signature techniques. Now, it wouldn't be a Dragon Ball game without, Dragon Balls, and Xenoverse does a really good job implementing them. Here in Xenoverse, you can gather the 7 Dragon Balls within different side missions. After you have them all, you can summon Shenron and choose from a variety of options to make your own wish. Now you can get some cool, unique items, characters, and different equipment, which I think is a pretty cool system. Now, gameplay in Xenoverse is a really cool hybrid between a fighting game and sort of an RPG. What is different in Xenoverse compared to most Dragon Ball games is that you'll also be leveling up your character, as well experimenting with what equipment you might wear and what ability combinations might work. I also felt that getting more powerful lent itself nicely to the concept of power levels within the Dragon Ball universe. However, this also can lead to the downside of the gameplay, the grind. The combat in this game is a lot of fun to play, especially in the initial stages. But later in the game, as you face more difficult enemies, the battles can become rather long, and in a fighting game format, it can become a little boring and mundane. Now, there's plenty of variety in the abilities you can learn, but in battle you're actually limited to only 4 super moves, 1 dodge maneuver, and 2 ultras. Since some of the battles can drag on a little long, and there's so many cool abilities you can learn, I really would have appreciated the ability to bring more into a combat setting. Don't worry, it is not all doom and gloom, as there is a nice amount of mission variety. Rarely will you be just simply battling someone one-on-one. You'll often take part in 3-on-3 battles and other variations. Sometimes you'll be in a race to collect Dragon Balls from the opponent, and even a couple of boss battles where you take on a Great Ape.
Now you see, this is the end for you!
Unfortunately, the more you play, the more you're going to notice another one of the game's flaws, which is the real absolute weakness of your ally AI. Often they're not much help at all. They often act as damage sponges, so you don't have to take on multiple opponents at once. This can be corrected, however, by joining fellow players online in most missions, excluding story ones. But it would have been nice to be given a more competent AI ally to help you through the different missions. You just won't be fighting in Xenoverse, as you'll be also spending quite a bit of time in the hub city of Toki Toki Town. Now, I found this hub to be a little bit of a hassle, as you're limited to a slow run, no longer being able to speed around or fly, and the spacing between the side mission area, shops, and story mission area were not designed with speed in mind. Some people online have suggested that a simple menu with the main game options being there would have been much easier, and I agree to a point, but I really do like the idea of the hub. I think it's a cool feature which gives the real RPG feel and allows other players to communicate with each other. I think there should have been a happy medium of a smaller hub, or better yet, the ability to fly and speed around to provide a more accessible hub experience. Xenoverse's graphics do Dragon Ball justice, as the character models and their many abilities look phenomenal, really capturing the look and the feel of the source material. Now, the battlefields complement by being spot on visually. However, they do come off a little small and limiting at times, and they could be a tad more destructible. I personally really want to Kamehameha wave someone into a mountain and see it explode and crumble. Now, I might be reaching for the sky a little bit there, reaching for the stars, but considering this is a next-gen game, I expected a little more. Sound-wise, the game is a bit of a mixed bag. Many of the voices from the anime return. A couple have completely changed, and not for the better. I'm looking at you, Frieza.
It's the very first time I have been made such a fool of.
It just doesn't sound like sadistic Frieza. It sounds more like Dragon Ball Abridged Frieza. And the sound is not helped by the awful lip syncing. While sometimes it is passable, there are points where the characters don't even move their lips, which is just lazy.
Ah, so this is where the energy is coming from!
The soundtrack in the game does a decent job, but being a little nostalgic and a huge fan of the Bruce Falconer soundtrack from the show, I wanted maybe a little bit of remix from those tracks. Now, I feel that's a little bit more of a stickler point, as the music in the game is pretty good, as it does give you some good heavy beats and get you real pumped up. Overall, the graphics and the sound are good, but a few inconsistencies weaken the overall product.
As a longtime Dragon Ball fan, I was very pleased to see someone finally breathe some fresh air into what I consider a dying series. This is a very cool hybrid of genres, a little bit RPG, a little bit fighter, and there's so much Dragon Ball content that you'll keep a fan busy for hours upon hours upon hours. That being said, there are some inconsistencies, especially the really grindy gameplay, which could wear on a player. As a Dragon Ball fan, I want to do nothing but praise this. Praise it from the top of the mountain, saying that this is 10 out of 10, best game of all time, holy grail, every other Dragon Ball game you don't need because it's the only one you need. However, from a general gaming perspective, there are some issues. For the score, I would say I'm giving Dragon Ball Xenoverse a 7 out of 10. A very good, respectable score. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball, there's a lot of fan service and content out here to really help iron out some of the wrinkles in the gameplay. However, if you're not a fan, you might find the grind not worth your time. Thank you for joining me for this video review. Please like and subscribe, and I'll hope to see you again soon. Thank you.